Sometimes, a single image can change everything. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't expect it. That day, I was just trying to take pictures of birds. I wanted peace. A moment of silence. Of beauty. But what I captured through my lens shattered my world. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. And even now, I still can't believe I saw my husband do that to his ex-fiancée. My name is Danielle. And the first time I saw Marcus, he was wearing a suit. A wedding suit. But there was no bride. He was sitting alone at the bar of the resort. His tie was loose. His eyes lost. And the bartender whispered to me, "He was left at the altar today." I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. But then, a small bird landed right on his arm. And for some reason, I took the picture. Only later would I understand that it wasn't just a bird. It was destiny, drawing the first line of our story. We started talking. Slowly. He told me everything. That he had fallen in love with a woman, beautiful, smart, but also the daughter of a powerful businessman. They met during a negotiation. She was the heiress. He was just a worker, climbing the ladder, building a life with his own hands. They fell in love. But then she started doubting him, thinking he was after her family's money. She grew cold. And on their wedding day, she left him without a word. Marcus was devastated. And I could see he hadn't moved on. But I wasn't looking for love either. Just a quiet escape with my camera. And the birds. And yet, somehow, that's where everything began. Then, I invited Marcus for a walk in the park. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. We just walked. While I took photos of the birds landing near the lake. That was my escape, my world. Nature is simple, I told him. It doesn't betray. It doesn't lie. There's no greed, no competition, no masks. He didn't say much. Just nodded. But something in his eyes softened. We sat under a tree, watching a family of ducks swim by. I remember saying, I love how animals don't pretend. They just live. He smiled. And in that silence, something started to grow between us. A few months later, he told me, "That was the moment I started falling for you. Your simplicity. Your peace. You weren't trying to impress me. You weren't trying to own anything. You were just real." And through that simplicity, that natural way of being, that detachment from the things of this world that make life heavy, we started to believe together that real love is truly possible. Months went by, and for our honeymoon, we chose something peaceful. A seaside cruise. Just the two of us. Waves. Sunlight. Long walks on the deck. It was perfect. But then, something changed. We had just arrived at a coastal city for one of the cruise stops, when a major storm appeared, and not in the weather. That morning, Marcus looked uneasy. "I have to step out," he said. "A quick meeting. Some work thing. I won't be long." A meeting? On our honeymoon? I asked. He smiled nervously. It's nothing, babe. I'll be right back. I tried to believe him. But I felt it, that subtle shift. Like a gust of wind before the storm. Something didn't feel right. I had a strong headache that morning, so I stayed in the room. Laid down. Closed my eyes. Told myself everything was fine. But as time passed, I realized it was best to leave my room. So I got up. Grabbed my camera. And walked out. Just to breathe. Just to find peace. I needed air. I was still feeling a little dizzy, but I thought some fresh wind would help. So I grabbed my camera and walked to the deck of the cruise ship. The sun was soft. The breeze calm. I raised the lens. Birds again. Flying freely, as if they had no past. No pain. Just wings. I wandered to the edge of the cruise deck, pointing my lens to the horizon. The sea always calms me. And I started photographing the birds near the city. I started following them through the lens. Click. 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 But then, something pulled me. One of the birds flew toward a distant part of the land. I zoomed in. Focused. And then, it happened. I had no idea I was about to capture something that would shake everything I believed. I followed the bird with my camera. And that's when I saw it. A woman. Alone. Luxurious.
Too familiar. My chest tightened. My hands started shaking. It was her. Marcus's ex-fiancée. Sitting in a fancy outdoor restaurant, glowing in the sunlight like she belonged to another world. She looked glowing, polished, unreal.
And then, I saw him. Marcus. Led to her table by a waiter, like a lamb to the slaughter. He was walking. Straight to her. My Marcus. Still in his work clothes. She stood up. She smiled. She hugged him. And he didn't move. I couldn't breathe. I didn't move. Everything inside me was screaming, but I stayed frozen. My hands shook. My stomach turned. I was still. But everything inside me was collapsing. I kept watching through the lens. Her lips moved. She was talking, and suddenly started crying. He sat there. Still. And I cried with her. With them. With myself. Then she leaned in and
Whispered something in his ear.
I didn't want to see more. But I couldn't stop looking. And then, Marcus pushed his chair back. He stood up. Almost knocked the table. And walked away. But the damage was done. The image was already burned into my soul. I didn't know how I made it back to the cabin. My body moved, but my heart was stuck in that frame. In that photo. In that moment. And what came next was worse. I didn't know what to think. Was it just a business meeting? Was it something else? My heart was pounding so loud, I couldn't even hear my thoughts. The headache came back stronger, with big nausea. I laid down, trying to breathe. I must have fallen asleep, because when I opened my eyes, Marcus was there. calm, or pretending to be. He asked if the staff had brought my medicine. He kissed my forehead. And then, he sat beside me, like nothing had happened. I asked about the meeting. He said it was fine. But he didn't look me in the eye. And that silence was worse than any confession. That night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I sat up in bed and asked him, "Why did you meet your ex today and tell me it was a work meeting?" He froze. But he didn't lie. He told me everything. Yes, it was a business meeting. Yes, he didn't want to tell me. Because he knew how it would look, and he thought there would be other people at the table. Her father's company was merging with his firm. And she was in charge now. She had demanded that he be the one to handle the negotiations of this new important deal. She set it all up, he said. She waited until we got married. And then used the deal to pull me back in. We were still on our honeymoon, but our marriage had already entered a storm, I thought. We went back home. But the meetings with his ex didn't stop. He asked me to trust him. But after what he hid from me, a thick cloud of doubt settled between us. I was scared of that woman, and the games she could play. I started taking anxiety meds. I couldn't focus at work. Every time I picked up my camera, my hands trembled. I kept seeing that scene again and again. Her tears. His silence. Marcus grew distant. Colder. Whenever I asked how the meetings went, he'd get annoyed. I'd come home and find him tense, jaw clenched. The deal was huge, and his boss was putting pressure on him. At dinner, I tried to ask calmly, "Did you have many meetings today?" But he snapped. "It's fine. There are other people in the meetings, and it's always short. The negotiations are coming to an end." But when the deadline finally came, she changed her mind. She wanted to revisit the terms. My husband had a past. I always knew it would come back someday. But I never imagined it would be like this. "That's when I found you, Isabel." I walked into your office like a ghost. Empty. Drained. I didn't know how to live like that. Suspicious. Numb. Paralyzed. I wanted to love, I told you. But I was so scared of looking like a fool. And you looked at me with so much calm. So much clarity. Like you had seen hundreds of women in that exact same storm. And you showed me how simple it was. You can't love without risk. You said, "Love is not a yacht. It's a fragile little boat. You sail it on open waters, without knowing if a storm is coming and with no guarantees. To love is to hold someone, without tying them down. To trust not that they'll never fall, but that they'll choose you, even when they're free to walk away." Those words hit me harder than any confrontation with Marcus. You were right. If we were going to survive this, we had to be partners. Truly. If wanted to remain married, I would have to trust my husband and be open to take risks. So I sat down with him. No accusations. No fear. No rehearsed lines. Just the truth. I told him I needed to trust him, fully. And for that, I had to stop feeding the fear. He listened. Really listened. And then he said, "I don't want this to break us. I want you with me, in this, and in everything. We agreed he couldn't leave that project. But we'd face it. Together. I stopped asking questions with suspicion. I stopped assuming the worst. And whenever we were together, I chose to just be with him. Not as a watchdog, but as his wife. And that changed everything. Then, the little bird helped us again. Luck provided us. Her company was facing huge financial problems, and the deal was finally closed. The project ended. And Marcus was promoted. Now, everything's different. He tells me everything, especially the hard stuff. Whenever something at work could affect our family, he comes to me first. And surprisingly, all of this, his ex, the tension, the chaos, only brought us closer. He learned not to hide things from me. And I learned that real love is a risk, to offer your heart, knowing it could be broken. And doing it anyway. Because love isn't about control. It's not about reading someone's mind or monitoring their every move. It's about being brave enough to hand over your heart. Open, unguarded, and trust they'll protect it. And you know what else I realized? Simplicity is beautiful, but not everything in life is simple. Reality is bigger than our thoughts. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we don't see the whole picture. I only started living again when I realized that a real marriage only exists when we surrender unconditionally to each other. I learned to love the other's freedom, even the freedom to hurt me. Trying to control Marcus would have made me just like his ex. And I'm not her. I'm his partner. And today, I can say this with peace. If you and your husband are truly partners, don't be afraid to fall into his arms. Only when you let go, love can finally begin. In the end, I realized a real marriage isn't made of certainty, but of courage. The courage to let someone hold your heart, even if they could break it.
Thank you, Danielle. I am so proud that you managed to find meaning in your life. You found not just forgiveness, but courage. Because marriage is never about control. It's about freedom, vulnerability, and truth.
And you, watching this now, what would you have done? Would you have told your husband what you saw? Would you have ended it right there? Or would you have risked everything to love again?
This was the story of one of my patients at the end of her treatment. Her name was changed, and the details were adapted with her permission. I'll keep posting stories like this from my psychological practice to help you learn English and reflect on life, because I believe these are not just stories. They are stories that heal, teach, and transform.
And your story matters too. If you want, share it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer with my therapeutic insights. If this story moved you, send it to that friend who needs to hear it. And if you want to grow with us, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell so you won't miss the next story. And I'll see you in the next story.